There's nothing worse than when your case is taking too long and you feel like the USCIS process is going on and on and on forever, and you just don't know when it's going to end. Today's video is going to help you with that exact problem, because I'm not going to give you just one or two. I'm going to give you 3 tips for how you can speed your USCIS case up if you feel like it's gotten stuck and it's outside processing times. Welcome to my channel. I'm immigration attorney Hillary Walsh. I'm the owner of New Frontier Immigration Law, and one of my missions is to help get 1 million people their papers, and a big part of that project is helping give you tons of free information about how you can do your own process. And if you need help, you can always reach out to me at New Frontier Immigration Law, okay? So let's get started. This video is perfect for people who know that your case is outside of normal processing time. And I'll show you how you can figure that out in just a minute. But what I will say is that if it's not outside processing time, these tips that I'm going to share with you, they're really not going to help you. You have to wait, for the most part, you have to wait for USCIS's normal processing times to lapse before you can really, get after it with them. So part of, I guess, the secret tip in here is, unfortunately, immigrants and family members of immigrants, the U.S. government makes you be so much more patient than you ought to have to be. I apologize, because I have seen so many people have a lot of family separation because of long processing times. The pandemic didn't help with that, because it extended some processing times by up to 2 years more than it already was. So it sucks. But don't bother spinning your wheels on these tips that I'm about to give you if your processing time hasn't lapsed. So with that said, the number one question is, how do I know if my processing time has gone by? Is my case in the normal processing window? I'm going to show you how to figure that out. I'm going to share my screen. And one of the things that you'll have to have, that I won't be able to tell you what it is I need to know, or you'll need to know in figuring out what your normal processing time is, which processing center has your petition. So if you have an I-130 petition pending and you're like, this has been 18 months, what's going on? I think that this is taking longer. I'm in different Facebook groups, and everybody else's I-130 has gotten approved and their case has gotten sent to the consulate in their home country. Why is mine stuck and taking so long? What we'll want to know, to be really precise, is you'll look at your receipt notice. And at the bottom left of your receipt notice for your I-130, don't look at it for your I-485 if you file one of those, or your I-765. Look at the one specific to the case we're going to look up, because it's going to tell you at the bottom left, where the little barcode is, which processing center has your case. And then we're going to go over to this website and take a look. Now, if you don't have that, if you don't happen to have your receipt notice, I'll show you a way to look this up generally. But again, it's so much better for us to be precise. So what I've done is I've Googled USCIS processing times, and that's what you should do as well. And we're just going to click on this top link. You'll see that I've already clicked on it, because I have clicked on this link many, many times for my clients. And we're going to jump over here, and it says check processing time. So let's use the example of, we're going to look up an I-130 that's been filed. It was on behalf of my child under the age of 21, and I'm a U.S. citizen. You have to pick your specific category, okay? So we're going to go for this one. And then this is where we want to know the service center or the field office that's processing your particular petition. That's going to vary. Even if I file one, I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona. I file them for clients all over the world, and they'll get sent to different processing centers, different service centers. So there's a couple listed on here, and I'll just show you for frame of reference. If you happen to be in California, the normal processing time is 14.5 months. 80% of their cases are completed within that. So if your case has been pending for 14.6 months, now we can go use these tips that I'm about to tell you about. But if you're still at the 14.4 months, hold on just a minute, hold on 0.1 more month, so like 1 more week, and then you can use the tips that are shared in this video. If you're in the Vermont Service Center, you can see that the time frame is pretty similar. By contrast, however, if I go look at Texas, let's see what Texas has, and it's also pretty similar. Here's the reason it's so important to be specific, because if I look at all field offices and they have averaged them together, it's 30 months. So you wouldn't, if you know that your case is getting processed in Texas, you don't want to wait 30 months. You want to wait 14 months because Texas was only, let me pull it back up, 13 and a half months. So this is why it's important to look at the bottom left of your receipt notice to figure out what's going on. Because once we get here, let's pretend you're someone who has an I-130 pending for your spouse, parent, or child under the age of 21. Let's go with spouse. That's a really common one. And it's processing in Texas, and it's been 13 and a half months. This video's for you. Let's rock and roll. Because what we'll want to do is you can do all three of these things, and I would do them in the order I'm describing them. First, I would call USCIS and ask for them to expedite your processing, because it is, and this is an important phrase to use, outside normal processing times. You got to sit and listen to the terrible hold music. You got to sit and listen to the recording voice that is very strange. It's very annoying. But once you get someone on the line, you could just let them know, here's my receipt number that's on my I-130. My case has been pending, and it is outside normal processing time. So I would like to do an expedite request, okay? I would like to do an expedite request. So that's tip number one. And what that does is it creates basically a red flag in USCIS's processing system that lets people know, like, hey, you need to go, if you're going to go work on cases today, this is a high priority. You need to go, this case has been flagged that it needs to be prioritized. Now, a lot of times nothing will happen once you do this. This is why I always say, let's go over to step 2. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second so that I can share with you step 2, and that's going to be contact your senator. Now, we do this at New Frontier Immigration Law for people all the time because they feel, maybe especially if they're undocumented, they feel uncomfortable liaisoning, I think that's the word, liaising with a government official like a state senator or a federal senator. But I promise they are here to serve. They're not here to find out if you have status or not have status. So you can absolutely do this for your own federal senator. So the reason I emphasize you're going to work with your senator, it has to be your federal senator. Don't reach out to your local state representative. You want to reach out to your federal senator. So you'll have 2 in your state. And in Arizona, one of those people is Senator Mark Kelly. These are the people who go to Washington. Like if you're trying to figure out, and sometimes it's kind of confusing, it's like, do they go to the Capitol and get together and have Congress? Or do they go to Washington in order to get together? And like, when you see political ads, are people always saying, oh, they vote with Joe Biden, or oh, they vote with President Trump? Those are going to be your federal senators. Where if they're talking about, oh, this person's in the pocket of the local governor or whatever. I say this jokingly because every state does it, and all the mudslinging is always the same. That's an easy way for you to figure out if it's your federal senator or your state senator, okay? So Mark Kelly is in Arizona, one of our federal senators, okay? He's our Arizona senator. And how we can help use Mark Kelly as a resource for you when your case has been outside the processing time. And the reason I say you need to find your state, the federal senator for your state, your representative in the Senate, is because if you don't live in that state and you have no ties to that state, like, if you're in the military, for example, and you're stationed in Tucson, you could write Mark Kelly. You could write, at time of recording, Senator Kristen Sinema. And you could also write your home state, like the state that you previously lived in before temporarily moving to Arizona for a change of station. You could write to all 4 people. And then you could also, if your spouse is a student in Texas, we'll go back to our Texas example, and she's a student visa, she has ties to Texas. So I would write Texas also. And you're going to see that it's like a copy and paste kind of thing. But in situations like this, the more the merrier. You never know which senators are going to be super responsive. Sometimes, they've got personal things going on, and they all have an immigration aide, though, who basically has what I call the bat phone. It dates me, but if you ever saw the old Batman movies, there was a red bat phone, and you could call and I guess talk to Batman. So this is a way for our senators. They have an immigration aide, and the immigration aide has essentially a bat phone, and it's a special email address that they can email and talk to people at USCIS, and those people respond because it's the senator who has oversight over this federal agency. And so you get a little bit more traction there. But you go onto any senator's website and you're going to see this help with a federal agency. You might have to tootle around a little bit. It's, depending on what the buttons or whatever are, but you're going to want to look for something that says help with a federal agency. We click on that. There's going to be a scroll down. There's always going to be, here we go, casework form. We don't want that. Immigration, yes, we want that. We're going to click on that. Mark Kelly's office has a fillable form, which is really nice, and then some buttons to attach documents. So let's go all the way down here. Hang with me. And then here are some ways that you can attach. This is a fancy way of saying receipt notices. Okay, this is like, you'll see at the top of the form, it'll say I-797 notice of action. These are just your receipt notices. So any of those that you have, and you're kind of limited. So, you can combine them into one PDF for all your receipt notices. You can combine them into a PDF if you want to show that you have, contacted USCIS and done an expedite request, show your initial filing, anything like that. And then you sign using your mouse or finger. When I do this for people, because I'm doing it on their behalf, I have to also include a privacy waiver form so that that this senator's office will communicate with me about your case, because obviously there's privacy concerns there. You won't have to do that here if you're signing your own name, okay? So this is tip number 2. Again, don't jump the gun on this, because it's gonna slow down your system even more. Again, we have to go back to that irritating patience that we have to have, that I wish you didn't have to have in this process. But if you jump the gun and you ask for an expedite request, and they're like, your case is an outside processing time, we can't do an expedite request. And I'm like, okay, crap. And then we email our senator. The senator is going to tell you, they're going to email on your behalf, and USCIS is going to tell them, this person needs to wait in the line. It's not outside normal processing times. They do not pass go. They do not collect $200. So if you go and look up what your normal processing time is for your particular form, and if you file, usually when I file an adjustment of status, I file an I-130, an I-765, an I-485, an I-864, and an I-131. You can check the normal processing time for almost all of those, okay? And you can see individually, are any of these outside the normal processing time? Because for like an I-131, that's your advance parole, permission to travel while you wait. Let's go look that up, because I think it's like 10 months. I haven't looked this up in a few weeks, but let's pretend you are wanting to do advanced parole. And again, let's go to Texas and see what Texas has going on. It's 18 months, okay? So I think that there are some that might be shorter, but the National Benefits Center, let's see. I just get curious because you kind of want to see what's going on. Yeah, I thought it was closer to 10 months the last time I looked this up. So the processing center really matters. And again, you might have different processing centers for all 4 or 5 of those forms that you file with your adjustment of status. You don't have to take just one or the other. They should be processing your advanced parole while your I-130 is getting processed. And those could be 2 totally different service centers. So that's your second tip, okay? Is number 1, kind of step 0 is, let's make sure that your case is in fact outside processing times. If it's outside it by a sneeze, hurry and start these steps. Because if what's been happening is they just make the processing time longer and longer and longer, so that you can't use any of these tools. So an example of this is for 601A waivers. Folks who are wanting to consular process, but they have unlawful presence in the United States, and so they want to get a waiver for that before they leave. I filed one of these in 2019, and I just keep this gentleman in my mind because it really is like just a nightmare situation for him. I filed it in 2019, and at the time, it was an 18-month wait. So we thought, okay, by early 2021, you should get your approval notice, and then we'll start the consular processing process. You should have your green card by about 2023. Well, here we are in 2023, and that 601A waiver is still pending, and it's still in normal processing time. And the reason for this, and so that means I can't use any of these tips for my client, is because of the pandemic. And that's why it's so important to look, what is the normal processing time for my case? And for the 601A waivers, these have gotten extended and extended and extended. So the normal processing time used to be 18 months. And then one day we woke up and checked and it said 24 months. And then one day we woke up and it was 26 months. And the next time we checked, it was 36 months. So if you don't really stay on top of what is the normal processing time, and I need to call right the minute that it gets outside normal processing time, then you might be too late. And if it's changed from 24 months to 36 months and you didn't call when it had just gotten outside 24 months and now they changed it to 36 months, you got to wait another 12 months for making that phone call and doing some of this stuff. So stay on top of it. Check it probably once a week, especially when you get really close to where you're reaching the outside normal processing, because these tips work. Okay, they work. The third and final tip I'm going to share with you is sue. Okay, now I am a military spouse. I love my country. And I also think that sometimes suing is the next best thing that you can do, because if the government isn't doing its job, the only way for us to really hold check and balance for our government is by the judiciary coming in and saying, the rules are the rules and you're not following them. And so USCIS has been charged with the responsibility of timely adjudicating petitions for immigration cases. And if it has gone well outside the processing time, we've tried step 1, we've tried step 2, and nothing is happening. And God, what happens if, you're about to be deported and you have this form of relief that's available to you, but the government isn't approving it? We got to sue, because they're going to screw you over by by lollygagging, and just taking way too much time. And meanwhile, the other part of the government is about to deport you. So we need everybody to be on the same page, and it's called a writ of mandamus. We're suing for the judiciary to say, I mandate that you adjudicate this. We cannot mandate that it gets approved. We just can ask for the court to mandate that at least an adjudication will happen, that at least an outcome will happen. And, for most cases, those are approvals. By and large, any form you look at, USCIS shares its approval ratings, the approval versus denial adjudication statistics online, and every single petition has a high approval rate. So if you are sick and tired of waiting, you may want to consider, option 1, ask for an expedite. Right away, I would also, after you get off the phone with USCIS, I would blast my senators and ask them, can you please urge USCIS to adjudicate my pending petition that's outside normal processing time? Here is proof that it's outside normal processing time. And third, you can go to court, and it's about a $500 filing fee for a writ of mandamus. So that is an expensive filing fee, but we find that the results are outstanding. Anytime I've had to do this, I have gotten the attention of a federal, U.S. district attorney, like a AUSA, U.S. attorney, not a district attorney, USAUSA, and they call me and say, hey, I want to make this go away, because they don't want more cases on their caseload, especially cases like this where they don't have good proof for why this shouldn't be wrapped up. So your third option that we at New Frontier have seen really good results on is a writ of mandamus, and it could be the silver bullet for getting your case, adjudicated. Again, we can't ask for the court to say you need to approve this. We can just ask for the court to say, hey, This has been sitting around for long enough. It's outside your normal processing time. This is your responsibility that the Attorney General and Congress has delegated to you. You haven't done it. You have until X date to do it. And if you don't, mom's gonna be mad, kind of a deal. I hope this is helpful for you. These are your 3 tips for if your case is stuck or outside processing time, what you need to do. And you can contact me at New Frontier Immigration Law if you have any questions. And let's get your case rocking and rolling. Let's get you approvals going. Later, friends.